Drivers and passengers, return to your vehicles.
You know, I was just thinking, I don't think I've ever had a bad day that started with a ferry ride. Probably because, to me, a ferry ride signifies the beginning of an adventure of some sort. So, let's go. I'm out on the Olympic Peninsula. It's a Thursday, and I am just out for a little midweek camping trip, kind of escape the city and get some forest time in. And so I'm in a new area that I've never explored, hoping to find a great spot with a view to call camp for the night, so fingers crossed. But as I was on my way, I saw on the map a hiking trail that led to a waterfall, and I've got a lot of daylight to burn, so I figured, what the heck? So that is what I'm doing now. I'm on this trail to the waterfall. I can just hear it off in the distance, so we're getting close. So let's see what it looks like. Well, that definitely did not suck. What a beautiful waterfall. I'm so glad that I made that little side trip to go and check it out. Definitely well worth it. Also, fun fact about waterfalls, something I didn't know until a couple weeks ago. Apparently, Washington State has more waterfalls than any other state in the lower 48. So I think ever since I read that, I was like, man, I need to get out and check out and explore more waterfalls because I don't do it very often. What have I been doing this whole time? So now I can check that one off the list. That's one down and like 2,400 more to go. So I'm on my way. Anyway, heading back to the truck now because it's time to try and find a spot to set up camp for the night. I've got a couple of spots marked, but I don't know if they're in a gated area or not, so we'll see if I can make it to them. But fingers crossed, and I guess we'll find out. So I just wrapped up that hike and I realized that I am really hungry. I haven't eaten anything yet today. And so I opened up the drawers to check what was in our pantry and I found something that I totally forgot that I had. I found this gem. Look at that. Ready to eat pepperoni pizza with cheese. You're supposed to be able to just eat it right out of the bag. Apparently you can heat it up too, but I don't really want to do that. Corey got this for me on the Arizona trip because I always say like there's no such thing as bad pizza, and he found this at like a Cabela's or something. He's like, well, if that's true, then you'll like this. So we're gonna find out together if this is, I'm not gonna say any good, but I'm gonna say if it's edible. There are 2 servings, so we'll start with one and see how it goes. Oh, I might need a knife to open this. Oh, nope, I don't. All right, moment of truth. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, interesting. All right, so that's what it looks like. Yeah, all right, well, let's find out. Wow. It's not good. It tastes like stale, week-old pizza that you left out on your counter and forgot about. But it does taste like a pizza. It just tastes like the gnarliest pizza you ever had, which I'm sure you'll be very surprised about. But I'm gonna eat it anyway. And then I'm gonna hit the trail and find a spot to camp. Well, this looks promising. Certainly not a terrible view from this campsite. This is beautiful, and it's exactly what I was hoping to find today. This is the Hood Canal right behind me, and my aim today was to try and get up on top of a ridge and see if I could find a spot to camp that overlooked Hood Canal. And as you can see, I have managed to do that. I didn't know if I'd be able to because I'm just on this little sliver of public land that's surrounded by private land, and oftentimes that means locked gates. Thankfully, no locked gates today. I haven't seen anyone else up here, and it's just such a perfect day. I've got the sun shining on me, and then these clouds back here just make it look that much cooler as they are passing by. So this is really scratching that itch that I had to just get out in nature and explore. It was a beautiful hike as well, and that waterfall. But yep, I've got the next couple of hours to just relax and chill and enjoy being out here. So that's what I'm gonna do before I get dinner started in a little bit. But man, it's always amazing how you can just come to a totally new area and take a little bit of a gamble, and you end up finding a campsite just like this one. Dinner tonight, chicken pesto pasta. This is one of our favorite camp meals, and so I decided to make it for myself tonight. The pesto just gives it so much flavor, and it's super easy to make at camp too. We kind of half prep it at home and then half prep it here. And then the cherry tomatoes. The key with the cherry tomatoes, leave them whole, so when you bite into them, you get that burst. And man, this is one of my favorite camp dinners. I'm not mad right now. Good morning. I got up at like 5 o'clock this morning, just before the sunrise. I was actually awakened by the birds. They were really loud. As soon as that first hint of light came up over the horizon, the birds were chirping. And hilariously, somebody in the valley below me here has a rooster, and that rooster was crowing. So I had the full sunrise experience this morning. But yeah, just a beautiful campsite. It's a little cloudier today. I might get fogged in here soon. But speaking of this campsite, one thing that I want to mention, and I've mentioned this in videos before, but I know that when people see a camp spot like this, some people are going to ask me for coordinates. Always happens. And I've said before, I don't generally like to give out coordinates for a few reasons. One, and the biggest reason, honestly, is that I feel like finding campsites like this is part of the adventure. It's part of the fun. It's part of the challenge. And it's one of my favorite parts, and so I always like to try and empower people to find campsites like this versus just telling them where they are. Case in point, this particular campsite, I actually saw on another YouTube channel. Shout out Scott Alpine, if you're watching this. What's up, Scott? But I saw this on your video, or at least a campsite right in this area, and I was like, man, that looks like a cool campsite. And so what I did is I just started going to Google Maps. I looked at the backdrop, and I'm like, where could that be? And I started researching, and I started looking at forest roads, and I started looking at satellite data, and I get it. I'm a nerd, and some people aren't as nerdy as that. But my point is, if you really want to find a campsite, usually there's enough breadcrumbs in a video of mine that you could probably find it with just a little bit of research. And so try it. Honestly, it's a lot of fun to kind of try and do that detective work and find a cool campsite. And the other reason that I don't generally like to give coordinates out is that, you know, I get it. I have a YouTube channel, and if I put a video out at a cool campsite and that video blows up and I've got the coordinates in there, I'm just worried that the campsite is going to get trashed, because campsites are already getting trashed as it is. In fact, this one, as beautiful as it is, there are shell casings strewn all over this campsite and some trash, and I've tried to pick some of it up, but there's a lot. But anyway, it's kind of a lose-lose. Some people get really angry if I don't give them coordinates, and then some people get really angry that I'm even making videos in these locations. So you know, it kind of is what it is. But ultimately, if I can find campsites like this, so can you. And I did make a video like a year ago about how to find campsites and my process that I go through in terms of like looking at maps and all of that. And I'll put a link to that in the description. So if you are curious and you want to know more, check that video out. And if you have questions about how I go about that or that process, drop them in the comments and I will be happy to answer those. So anyway, I think at this point, just gonna finish my coffee and probably get out of here pretty early because it doesn't look like it's gonna clear up. So I think I'm gonna head back into the city. But this trip was exactly what I was hoping it would be. Just a day to get out of the city and recharge and explore a little bit. And I think I checked everything off my list. So definitely feel like I was able to refill the batteries and recharge a little bit on this trip. But anyway, if you like videos like this one, then consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps us out. Christine and I have a goal to hit 25,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and it's going to take a little bit of work to get there. So if you watch these videos and you're not subscribed, please do. We would appreciate it. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for this one, and we'll see you in the next one.